Hallo iedereen. Hello everybody.
Hello, I'm Ilya.
And I'm Mohamed.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you for the possibility to be here with you.
Hyvät naiset ja herrat, that translates to ladies and gentlemen. We are from Kankaanpää, Finland.
The aim of our UNESCO school is to make pupils aware of human rights and peace.
The European Union is not about countries. The European Union is about people. We believe in the unity of diversity between people as they represent the driving force of an emerging society.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Iro, and I'm representing, together with Sophia, our school, the Greek Secondary School of London.
We have high expectations for this meeting, to meet new people and to learn new things.
We have a beautiful language, but it could be quite difficult to study it for foreigners. For example, I will say one of the most difficult tongue twisters. 333 stříbrných stříkaček přiletělo přes 333 stříbrných střech.
We joined the European Union in 2004, but historically Estonia always been connected with Europe.
Malta, an island situated in the heart of the Mediterranean, with one of the smallest areas and populations in Europe.
This year, on the 11th of March, we celebrate the Day of Restoration of Independence of Lithuania.
Well, not very much time has passed. That's why all of us value the freedom that we have now.
We are finally free to create our and Europe's free future.
But we still can't forget our past.
We have a lot of unique traditions and musical instruments.
Even now, you can hear one of them, birbine.
Thank you.
What I would like to know is, do you think the war in Ukraine will escalate into Europe and maybe escalate into a third world war?
Nils from Sweden, and I'm wondering how should Europe handle Russia to avoid an escalation of the conflict?
A non-EU member, Turkey, has repeatedly broken laws in Cyprus, recently with Barbaros ship and Naftex, and of course, most importantly, the occupation which occurred in 1974, taking 37% of the soil. Do you believe the EU role in this subject in an international level is enough, and how do you think this influences the Turkish prospect of being in the European Union in the future?
I have a question, since all this war is going on in Ukraine and also in the North Africa and the Middle East, and there are a lot of war refugees coming now to Europe, and especially the war refugees from the North Africa and Middle East usually don't know the language and don't have the education really to find their place in the society in Europe. And of course, in my opinion, the thing that European Union should do is to keep those people there. You know, everybody should stay, or at least would have to live happily in their country. And how can you assure that all this crisis can come to an end, and that European Union won't have to cover so many refugees that is doing right now?
My question is about Euroscepticism, and because as the time goes by, more and more countries become homes of Euroscepticism. I feel that our bond is not strong enough, and we saw it from the elections last year. My peers in my country do not feel this union strong. We are a country, we're a divided country, and we have to give our passport to go to the northern part of the island. And I believe that there are other countries that they believe and they feel that this union is, they do not have enough support from other member states. And I believe that Euroscepticism is the root of many problems. What we should expect from you? What will you do to make this militancy stronger?
I would like to ask, will there be an European army in the future?
It is said that the new left-wing government, Greek government, is the result of the growing tension among the Greeks in terms of the austerity. So I would like to know to what extent you think the austerity is the only solution to the Greek economic crisis, and if austerity should be implemented even in the cost of the public sector and the welfare state.
Is the EU going to focus more on its external action in the future, especially in regards to development?
In Hungary, the Prime Minister, Herr Orban, is abusing his two-thirds seats in Parliament for his own personal gains, and in so doing, he is squeezing out the democratic rules. I'd like to know, what does the European want to do about this situation in Hungary?
In Cyprus, as you know, a natural gas has found. I would like to know whether this resource will help European Union and in what ways.
I'd like to know your opinion about the German government politics with respect to the Greek debt and the conflict between these two economic politics of German and Greek.
Do you consider ISIS to be a threat to European cities and European citizens?
Do you think that the education system in European countries should be standardized, make more similar, or no?
Do you consider the rising amount of religion, especially Muslim extremists, as a real danger for Europe? And what steps would you take to avoid the real problem?
I would like to tell you that the Greeks, just like us, are migrating all around the world, looking for a better future. Do you think that this situation could change if Greece goes back to its old currency?
What are European programs to help South Europe with immigrants?
One of the things what we also said was we should tax high pollution companies who pollute a lot all across the world, and we should tag these companies and use the money to invest in renewable resources. Then we discussed recycling. Would we make recycling a part of the law, and whether or not you should be punished or should you be rewarded for recycling? And we came up with that it would be better if you were rewarded for recycling, being that if you, like they do in Finland already, when you bring in a certain amount of plastic bottles, you get a certain amount of money back. And we should put this in every country's law, that something like this gets people motivated to recycle their plastic bottles.
J'avais juste une question en fait à propos des énergies
I have a question about renewables, talking about paying levies for polluting companies, but in France it's pretty difficult to get companies as it is. Don't you think if they had to pay levies, they'd go elsewhere, they'd relocate somewhere else, and that would even make things, the recession, worse in France than it already is?
I think I didn't really clear that one out. We were thinking about if companies pollute a lot, they do this probably because it's cheaper for them. So if we would tax on the pollution, they would immediately try to resort more to recycling and renewable energies and less polluting less. That's not really the tax that we want to put in, but it's like more the focus that the big companies who pollute a lot would pollute less with this tax.
We believe that education is the answer to most problems in our society today and in society of lesser developed countries. If we feel that if people have education, they can help to deal with the problems such as gender equality. We need to teach boys in countries and men in other countries that it is okay, that women are the same as them. If they're seen in the classroom together, you grow up, like coming from a mixed school myself, you grow up learning that you're the same. We just need more schools, and because we're going through a financial crisis, We don't need to give them large bulks of money. What we need to give them is schools. We need to give them teachers. We need to give them all the tools they need so that they can learn economics. They can improve their own country themselves without giving them loans that could lead to corruption, and we know it happens. Also, we need to teach them about health, as it's becoming an apparent problem with the spread of Ebola and HIV all across the lesser developed countries such as Africa, or continents. We also think that developing an economy must start small. There's no point, well, I see to a certain extent that there's a point that we need to develop banks and like big multinational companies. But how is a little village going to survive with big countries that are far away from them? What we need to do is start small. We need to financially, help small countries and businesses so that in return they can grow bigger and bigger themselves and sort themselves out. Because we need to give the solid foundation for the economy to grow.
I would like to know what is your opinion on educating girls, as you talked about education and that there has to be a development in schools. But I think that girls are less educated than boys. And what is your opinion on that?
That is evidently true. What we were saying in our group is we can't force a country who's been brought up, whose foundations are, oh, women are less than men. They're not going to believe us. I know ideally we could be like, oh no, you're all wrong, and they'll believe us. That's not going to happen. But what we were saying is, if we created schools especially for girls, and I know that's still segregating them, but you need to start small and grow big. Because I feel like people wouldn't have as much a problem sending their girls to a school that boys don't go to. But girls are still finding education. They can grow, they can become stronger, more powerful. And then from that, themselves, I think they could do what we did some 100 years ago and work it out for themselves as opposed to us forcing it on someone, because it's going to have a negative impact and people aren't just going to listen.
We would also like to suggest something that might sound like a taboo subject, but if you please listen carefully, you'll understand. We are asking for the legalization of prostitution. What that means is there is going to be a respective legislation. So victims of abuse in the work area of this profession can report these cases of abuse and have them faced. That also means that women or men that wish to work as prostitutes will have to undergo medical tests to check for sexually transmitted diseases, so that they're not allowed to work as that if they are positive. That means that this taboo profession will be much cleaner and much fairer. Thirdly, and most importantly, we're asking for equality. Equality in gender, sexuality, race, religion, physical or mental disabilities, even professional occupation and education. Not only organizations and committees of small power should work to fight for equality, but we believe that the European Union itself should take measures, vote laws, to ensure equal opportunities for every citizen of the European Union family.
Well, you don't think that with this way you encourage prostitution?
If you ask me, already people who are doing this job weren't exactly dreaming of following this career. The conditions made them go to that path, or they were forced, in which case legalizing would have the results mentioned before. But again, people who work as prostitutes maybe didn't have any other way to pay their bills, to make a living, to eat. So the people who already, I don't think that more people, or people that didn't really need to be prostitutes, will now suddenly decide to be because it's legal.
About the prostitution, you said that one prostitute is maybe poor, maybe don't have a home, food, etc. In the same way, I can sell drugs, and maybe I'm poor, I don't have a home, and that's why I sell drugs. I mean, I don't get this.
Selling drugs means that you're gonna cause harm to someone. Selling your body by your own choice without causing harm to anybody is not the same at all than spreading something, a heavy drug, a hard drug, for example, that's gonna cause people to even die. It's not causing harm if it's your choice. The only harm that could happen is to your body, but if it's your choice, then yes, you made that choice. It's not forcing other people or enabling other people to harm themselves.
It was clear to us that social media perform an important role in getting us informed, even though they're not always trustworthy. Then we have pointed out that news and the internet sometimes promote nationalism rather than European unity by putting the blame on the European partners. We also talked about the need for motivating people not only to get informed, but also to get involved. The role of education in this case is very important. We have also discussed the results from the poll we did in the morning. In the first question, the large majority of the students claimed that the school does not provide enough information about European Union. However, it is clear that still information is available to us. We therefore came to the conclusion that we do have ways, at least technical, to get informed, but we lack the willingness to get informed. Yet again, it is not only a matter of consumption of information, it is about our own personal stance. We need to change our way of thinking. We need to have a critical way of thinking. The role of education is once again significant in raising awareness and motivating people to be more active citizens. Last but not least, we mentioned that an active citizen would try by himself or herself to get informed by various sources of information, not only national, but also foreign, so that he or she could be a citizen of the global community. After all, getting informed lies in our own hands.
Today we've heard also about Lampedusa problem and migrations from Africa through Italy and all the Mediterranean Sea countries. I think that European Union should organize some kind of legal transfer organization, an organization which could take care of legal transports with all the needed goods to refugees, so refugees could get safely, rather than organizing search and rescue teams for them, as we always hear about a few hundred people. I may say, in a week's time, a few hundred people may die on the Mediterranean, and some of them we don't hear about it. We also mentioned a few problems. We mentioned some kind of ghetto problems, because when someone migrates to the country, they always stick together. They made some kind of districts, like we always know in New York there's Little Italy, Chinatown, and so on. In each city in Europe, I think there's the same district of the migrants. We should try to avoid such ghettos, as I may say, and build multicultural areas where everyone could meet, see that my Turkish neighbor is same as I'm German, for example, I'm Polish, and so on, to avoid racism and so on.
I just wanted to say that multiculturalism is a good thing, as you said, but some immigrants tend to feel lonely when they move to another country. So I was wondering if they're forming groups of the people of the same country was really a bad thing, because it could help them feel less lonely when they move to another country.
Yes, of course, being lonely is the saddest part of migration, but building or organizing such multicultural living areas doesn't mean they cannot organize some groups, communities, but we just want them to mix.
Now, secondly, we're speaking about education. We think that education has two major problems that cause unemployment. First problem is the fact that educational system in most of the countries is old. And second of all, the educational system is usually not fitted on today's needs, meaning that most of the people or most of the universities, let's say so, have a large number of students on matters that are not needed in today's society. So therefore, we believe that making the school systems around Europe similar would lead to a greater recognition of everyone's capacities and would somehow increase the mobility around Europe. And also regarding this mobility, we believe that we should totally encourage this, as people may not be able to find a job in their countries on their field, but they may find a job in neighbor countries through projects like Erasmus or Erasmus+. Also, organizing the opportunities would be a lot simpler through a great site that would show exactly what are the job opportunities, what are the internships, the trainings, the volunteering spaces, the language lessons, and so on and so forth, all the kind of workshops that are needed to make the youth more employed.
You talked about just one school system for the whole EU, and how would you manage this? Because every single state would say our school system is the best.
Thank you. I fully agree with you. There was also somehow heated debate on this matter in our committee, but we believe that the best school system will not be decided by each country, but would be decided by an organization from the EU that is capable to do that. Also, we believe that every educational system from each country has some good points and some bad points. Therefore, we still believe that no country could apply exactly the school educational system, but we believe that the main points, the basic classes should be taught around the EU in order to increase that mobility and to ensure that at least the youngsters have some sort of a basic job.